Good morning. This is the Paradise Unicorn Priestess bringing you day 257 of A Course in Miracles, the Yin translation, where we use female words. This would be September 14th if you're starting at the new year. The justification for forgiveness. Anger is never justified. Attack has no foundation. It is here escape from fear begins and will be made complete. Here is the real world given in exchange for dreams of terror, for it is on this forgiveness rests, and is but natural. You are not asked to offer pardon where attack is due and would be justified, for that would mean you forgive a sin by overlooking what is really there. This is not pardon, for it would assume that by responding in a way which is not justified, your pardon will become the answer to attack that has been made, and thus is pardon inappropriate by being granted where it is not due. Pardon is always justified. It has a sure foundation. You do not forgive the unforgivable, nor overlook a real attack that calls for punishment. Salvation does not lie in being asked to make unnatural responses which are inappropriate to what is real. Instead, it merely asks that you respond appropriately to what is not real by not perceiving what has not occurred. If pardon were unjustified, you would be asked to sacrifice your rights when you return forgiveness for attack. But you are merely asked to see forgiveness as the natural reaction to distress that rests on error and thus calls for help. Forgiveness is the only sane response. It keeps your rights from being sacrificed. This understanding is the only change that lets the real world rise to take the place of dreams of terror. Fear cannot arise unless attack is justified, and if it had a real foundation, pardon would have none. The real world is achieved when you perceive the basis of forgiveness is quite real and fully justified. While you regard it as a gift unwarranted, it must uphold the guilt you would forgive. Unjustified forgiveness is attack, and this is all the world can ever give. It pardons sinners sometimes, but remains aware that they have sinned, and so they do not merit the forgiveness that it gives. This is the false forgiveness which the world employs to keep the sense of sin alive. And recognizing God is just, it seems impossible her pardon could be real. Thus is the fear of God the sure result of seeing pardon as unmerited. No one who sees herself as guilty can avoid the fear of God, but she is saved from this dilemma if she can forgive. The mind must think of its creator as it looks upon itself. If you can see your sister merits pardon, you have learned forgiveness is your right as much as hers. Nor will you think that God intends for you a fearful judgment that your sister does not merit, for it is the truth that you can merit neither more nor less than she. Forgiveness, recognized as merited, will heal. It gives the miracle its strength to overlook illusions. This is how you learn that you must be forgiven too. There can be no appearance that cannot be overlooked. For if there were, it would be necessary first there be some sin that stands beyond forgiveness. There would be an error that is more than a mistake, a special form of error that remains unchangeable, eternal, and beyond correction or escape. There would be one mistake that had the power to undo creation and to make a world that could replace it and destroy the will of God. Only if this were possible could there be some appearances that could withstand the miracle and not be healed by it. There is no sure proof idolatry is what you wish. Then a belief there are some forms of sickness and joylessness forgiveness cannot heal. This means that you prefer to keep some idols and are not prepared as yet to let all idols go. And thus you think that some appearances are real and not appearances at all. Be not deceived about the meaning of a fixed belief that some appearances are harder to look past than others are. It always means you think forgiveness must be limited, and you have set a goal of partial pardon and a limited escape from guilt for you. What can this be except a false forgiveness of yourself and everyone who seems apart from you? It must be true. The miracle can heal all forms of sickness, or it cannot heal. Its purpose cannot be to judge which forms are real and which appearances are true. If one appearance must remain apart from healing, one illusion must be part of truth. And you could not escape all guilt, but only some of it. You must forgive God's child entirely, or you will keep an image of yourself that is not whole, and will remain afraid to look within and find escape from every idol there. Salvation rests on faith. There cannot be some forms of guilt that you cannot forgive, and so there cannot be appearances that have replaced the truth about God's child. Look on your sister with the willingness to see her as she is, and do not keep a part of her outside your willingness that she be healed. To heal is to make whole, and what is whole can have no missing parts that have been kept outside. Forgiveness rests on recognizing this and being glad there cannot be some forms of sickness which the miracle must lack the power to heal. God's child is perfect, or she cannot be God's child, nor will you know her if you think she does not merit the escape from guilt in all its consequences and all its forms. There is no way to think of her but this, if you would know the truth about yourself. I thank you, Mother, for your perfect child, and in her glory will I see my own. Here is the joyful statement that there are no forms of evil that can overcome the will of God. The glad acknowledgement that your guilt has not succeeded by your wish to make illusions real. And what is this except a simple statement of truth? Look on your sister with this hope in you, and you will understand she could not make an error that could change the truth in her. It is not difficult to overlook mistakes that have been given no effects, but what you see as having power to make an idol of the child of God, you will not pardon, for she has become to you a graven image and a sign of death. Is this your Savior? Is her mother wrong about her child? Or have you been deceived in her, who has been given you to heal for your salvation and deliverance? I would like to add to my commentary on today's text reading my personal opinion, and you can take it or leave it, but I have seen in myself and in those I love a tendency to, at times in life, be part of dynamics with others in the illusion where they play the victim, let's say, where they are seeming to be on the receiving end of abusive behavior. And the actions that I have decided to take in my life, and the actions that I advise all those that I love in a similar situation, is to walk away, to interact with anything that seems toxic in the illusion as little as possible. The less the better. It is an illusion. It is not real. And by interacting with it, we are giving it our faith, especially when we are so deep in our own feelings of not love towards ourselves that we unconsciously fall into them so quickly, so easily in those interactions. We need to find our own self-love and surround ourselves by that which is helpful and conducive, practically speaking, which means spending as little time and attention as possible. It means choosing things to think about that are not the painful thing. It means physically distancing ourselves in the illusion, stepping away. Basically, to step away and step away and step away until we have reached a point where all that remains in us is thoughts of love towards the other person. And if that means not having any interaction with them in the layers of illusion, then so be it. in our quiet moments, in our holy instants, in our times of going inside, we can send them nothing but love. We can practice our forgiveness in that state, where we are more in touch with our own nature, because the habit is so deep of going into a place of feeling vulnerable and hurt. And we ask for help from that place after we have withdrawn from all the layers of the illusion that have the nightmare quality of being painful for us. After we've withdrawn as much as we can and feel as safe as we can, from that place we practice forgiveness. The idea here being, after we have done this retreat from the painful layers of illusion, if we have achieved some level of forgiveness, after doing the soul work, after asking for help from the Holy Spirit and asking the Holy Spirit to help us see things differently, we can then begin to approach those painful layers of the illusion and see if we are ready to heal those also. And if we're not ready, we can go back to sanctuary and work again where we are less triggered, and then try again to approach those painful levels and heal them. I think the idea here is eventually to get us to a place where we can't be triggered anymore, where we realize that nothing can hurt us, where our self-love is perfect because our love for all is perfect, and our love for all is perfect because our self-love is perfect. They go hand in hand. We choose not to give faith and strength to those layers of illusion that have those nightmare elements. We deny them existence. We starve them of our attention. We go towards that which we love naturally. And perhaps this flies in the face of what seems to be some of the advice given in A Course in Miracles. I honestly cannot say for certain, but I have found it to be helpful advice to those who have spent enough time in the victim role that they are having trouble finding their way out of it. And from that neutral place of safety, of having distance between us and that nightmare illusion level, from that position we can offer love and forgiveness. And of course, if we cannot, then certainly we must practice forgiveness from that place of seeming duress as best we can and ask for help there also. This text reading says that salvation does not lie in making unnatural response. We're not expected to pardon something that has real consequences. That means we are being asked to forgive from a place of the consequences of harm to us having been healed. That's what the miracle is. That's us being healed from harmful consequence. And perhaps A Course in Miracles is asking us to take the initiative, is asking us to take a step into the darkness, a leap of faith. But it is promising us that when we do, we will find our foot on firm ground. Perhaps one way to think of this leap of faith is a complete denial, a withdrawal of our faith in any harm ever coming to us in the dream. So again, let's take this really literally, that everything that you and I think of as reality is a dream. So if you were in a lucid dream and you just flat out denied that a consequence happened in the dream, it would change, would it not? Have we not all had dreams where we experienced something like that, where the dream seemed to be going one way and then inexplicably it changed because we denied that the place where it was going could happen? And we realized, whoa, I have power here. Maybe we weren't fully lucid dreaming, but haven't we all had that experience where clearly we were influencing the story of how things went way more than what we think of as being possible in consensus reality? But if consensus reality is a dream, then that kind of seemingly miraculous change is more than possible. It's completely natural because it's all a generated simulation that can just be changed the way you change a channel. And the idea is getting us to the point where we have withdrawn our belief in its limitations and solidity, such that we can see those kinds of miracles happen because they don't surprise us anymore. Jesus would tell his disciples not to marvel when miracles would happen. It is the fact that we marvel that shows that we don't believe stuff like that is possible. Miracles don't happen because we believe they're impossible. Miracles happen because we realize that of course they are possible, and most of us just are not there yet. Today's text says, the real world, paradise, is achieved when you perceive the basis of forgiveness is quite real and fully justified. So the basis of forgiveness being quite real and fully justified means we've stopped seeing and therefore experiencing any harm as a result of any actions. Of course that would be paradise. No more harm, no more pain, no more unpleasantness due to the actions of others. Are we willing to stop believing that anything can harm us? Are we willing to see ourselves as omnipotent, unable to be harmed except by our permission? This is what the Course is trying to get us to see. We are in paradise when we fully realize that and have trust in it finally. If we really saw that this is a dream and it's not limited, it's not restricted to all the rules we thought it was, if we saw it begin to bend and break the rules that we were taught our whole life were unbreakable, and we're like, oh my goodness, reality is Play-Doh. It's plastic, it's bendable, it's flexible, it is shaped by our thoughts. We could then conceive of a world where we couldn't be harmed because we didn't want to be. And the only way we can not want to be harmed is if we've forgiven ourselves. And the only way we can forgive ourselves is if we forgive absolutely everyone else. If we hold even one thing against anyone, we will hold it against ourselves because we are one. We've been told before that the world as the ego designed it has no love in it whatsoever. We are asked to be a source of love in the world, as are all those who are trying to do the same, who are reaching to heaven for help and trying to be that in the world. And so that is the case. We are told in today's text reading that there is no forgiveness in this world that the ego has devised. There's only that fake forgiveness that is actually attack, and it is described in more detail in one of the supplemental texts. It's called Forgiveness to Destroy, and it's the reason why forgiveness is so deeply misunderstood, and the Course spends so much time trying to help us understand what it actually is. It tells us, hey, look, if the harm done by people were possible, we wouldn't be asking you to forgive because forgiveness would be impossible. You couldn't atone for harm done, real harm. This is a complete paradigm shift. We're being asked to see the harm not having ever been done. We're being asked to see this as a simulation where nothing has actually happened. That's why we have to deny the entire illusion. We can't try and keep part of it, or else this doesn't work. When we really get the oneness of all things, we will feel a sense of relief when we forgive our other self, because we will perceive that we just forgave ourselves. Until we get that paradigm shift, it's not going to really be real to us. We'll just have this unconscious sense that when we hold something against someone else, we feel bad inside and we won't know why. There's a previous part of the Course that says when we're tempted to have a grievance against someone else, to ask ourselves, would I hold that against myself? To help us to realize that the other person is the same as us. That's the thing we're not getting yet. We cannot hold something against anyone without holding it against ourselves. We think we can. We designed the illusion to make it seem like we can. It doesn't work. That's why we have this deep, unsettled feeling, because we're hurting ourselves constantly without realizing it. This is what we have to get. The more worthy we believe absolutely every part of the creation is, the more worthy we ourselves will feel. Thinking any part of the creation unworthy will cause us to feel unworthy. It's interesting how we can get it on an intellectual level. Okay, I get it. You're saying that everything I think of as reality is a dream illusion. Okay, got it. And then we can't hold that in our mind because, well, for me, if everything I think of as reality is a dream illusion, then I have no idea what reality is, and that is utterly terrifying. That is a huge state of uncertainty. In the Matrix, the reality was much, much worse than the illusion. A Course in Miracles tells us that reality is totally awesome. It's wonderful. But again, we have to, learn to trust in that and learn to have faith in it. It's understandable we wouldn't have faith in that because we don't have memory of it. We don't have experience with it. And the lessons are designed to begin to have us have experience with it. It wants us to have those experiences be more real and compelling than the messages that we're getting from our body's senses, our sight, our touch, our hearing. And after reviewing what is sin in the show notes, we go on to lesson 257. Let me remember what my purpose is. If I forgot my goal, I can be but confused, unsure of what I am, and thus conflicted in my actions. No one can serve contradicting goals and serve them well, nor can she function without deep distress and great depression. Let us therefore be determined to remember what we want today, that we may unify our thoughts and actions meaningfully and achieve only what God would have us do this day. Mother, forgiveness is your chosen means for our salvation. Let us not forget today that we can have no will but yours, and thus our purpose must be yours as well if we would reach the peace you will for us. That is our lesson for today. Happy practicing.